What is going on, everybody? Good morning still, right? Yeah, it is still morning. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Just to introduce myself, my name is Eric Velasquez. I'm interviewing the City of San Antonio candidates for the 2021 election that's coming up here shortly. As you can see on the bottom, April 19th, April 27th is the early voting, and May 1st is actual election date. I always encourage just to go early vote because there's not a lot of line. There's not a long line. Usually depends on where you go. But keep in mind, San Antonio or Bexar County, you do not need to go to a specific voting location or polling location. It's anywhere citywide or countywide. So you can go do that. And that's on early voting and election time as well. So, and just a reminder, anybody who is joining on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, you can actually jump into the conversation just by selecting the link below in the comments section. And I can go ahead and I'm going to post it on there. You can actually jump into the conversation and ask a question directly to the candidate, or you can just type in the comments and we'll relay that, post it on the screen, so that way our candidate can answer the question. And Instagram, you'll just basically type in the comments as well, and I'll just go ahead and relay that question over to the candidate. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our next guest. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm really excited to have a conversation about schools and policy.
Right.
Two of my favorite subjects.
So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people what you're running for.
Yeah, again, my name is Sarah Sorenson, and I am the candidate for District 1 for the SAISD School Board, and I'm the candidate who's running on the Schools Our Students Deserve platform. There are 4 of us who are running as a slate on this platform, and it's a platform that's been designed with students, with community organizations and community members, school workers, teachers, and families, and it's a platform that centers our voices in school decision making and lays out a vision for democratic control of our schools and supporting academic excellence and democratic values. And so it's a platform I'm really excited to be running on. I'm really passionate about. It's been an advocate for public schools for a while here in San Antonio, and this platform is completely in line with my values and my vision, and I'm incredibly excited to be running on that platform. And thank you for sharing that in the chat so other folks can take a look at it. It's an amazing document, so please take a look. It's really exciting and inspiring, and a vision that I think is worth all of us coming together to work towards. A little bit more about me. I'm a parent in the district, and I've been an active volunteer at my child's school for several years now, ever since she enrolled as a kindergartner, showing up for PTA and for events and committees and all those great opportunities that we have at school to be involved. So that's a little bit about me.
Cool. And let's show everybody the map here. I'm going to pull it up on my screen. I always forget to do this, and I apologize for everybody that I keep forgetting to share these, because these are kind of important.
Thank you. Yes, and it's a little bit of a confusing map.
Oh, where to go?
It's hard. It's tiny, right?
Where is it? Oh, it's the gray?
Yeah, so
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on.
Yeah,
it's this gray part right here, right?
Yes, it's the gray part. So, let me, I can give you another link too that gives you to a map that folks can plug in their addresses, and it will come up with what district it is. It's important to know the school district lines don't line up with the city council lines. So I know a lot of folks say, oh, I'm in District 1 in the city, so I must be in District 1 in the school district, and they're not necessarily aligned. My district essentially it starts at the south end, a part of Lone Star, and Lavaca, and moves sort of in kind of a narrow strip up through King William. There's a little bit of Gardendale, Tobin Hill, Dignity Hill, Denver Heights. I'm skipping order there, but
I
Government
believe
Hill, and then
this is 35 right here, right?
yes, that is
This one, and
35
then this
right
is
there. And there's
I-10.
even a little tiny piece on the other side of Fort Sam that I think it's the Belmead neighborhood that's in it, and Monte Vista's in it. It's this little narrow strip that kind of extends right through the center of
And
downtown.
this is Broadway, I'm assuming. This one right here going
Yeah, I think
down.
so.
Let me look
Yeah, let me
over
see if give
um,
me a minute. I'll try to multitask and look up two things at once. I will show my age here as
so
I
we can
do
show
this.
right here. It goes up. This is 35. This highway right here, and this is the kind of the Fort Sam area, but like in front. I
Yeah,
believe this is Fort Sam right here, so it's not included. So it's just in the all the homes that are around in the front of it. Then it goes
right.
cuts down through actually downtown, right? Um,
Yes, it's really, largely downtown. Yeah, I'm
then
going to give you this link
here's
here. I'm going to put it
the
in our, that
Lone
maybe you
Star,
can share.
yeah, Lone Star District's right here, and it goes a little bit over I-10 and 90 right here, but that's the cutoff right there.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
yeah.
so I just shared I think in our chat, so maybe you can share it with a larger group. It's um, a map that some organizers of the San Antonio Alliance have put together that you can plug in your address and you can find out which district you're in, and it's been very helpful to share with folks.
Mhm. Okay, well, yeah, this one's
Yeah,
up
and the
here.
map is maybe a little bit clearer because it uses Google Maps. Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
okay.
And the important thing is not
What
all
is
of
this?
yeah,
What is
it's great, right?
It's like
Yeah, there's a tiny little square. I don't know what that
an
is. Why that's
island.
like that, yeah.
SAISD island.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So that kind of yeah. So yeah, hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. And if you're part of the island, I mean, I don't know why, but you're part of the island.
Yes.
But yeah, so definitely use this to where do you go here? Hold on. Oh, okay. So you click on the map and then you actually just type in your address, I'm assuming.
Yes, you can type in your address and it will tell you what district you are in.
Okay. All right.
Yes, there you go.
So, okay. So yeah, so there you go. So if you want to look it up, you can do that there. Um and let's see here. I'll just copy and paste it onto the and again, this is not I'm not endorsing anybody. I'm
Right.
just doing this
So
so
you're
I know this is
providing information,
providing
which is
information. Yeah.
yeah. And
Um
these races are usually pretty low information, so it's
mhm,
great that people like even just the basic information about what district you
right.
live in is really important. We don't always know that. We don't always or pay attention to that until it's election time.
Yeah, definitely. So, so tell me why the school board? Why did you want to go in? It's a non-paying position. Uh, yeah. So why do that?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? It's a lot of work and no pay. Really, it's the platform. It's the opportunity to run on this platform. I think this is a vision and a goal to work towards that I would like us as a community to talk about and create spaces to make this happen. And being asked if I'd be interested to run on this platform, it took me a little while to think about it because it's a lot of work. But I want to create the space for this, and I want to be a part of this, and that's why I'm running now.
Okay. Um, so what are some of the things that you see that are being done at the school board level that caused you to say, you know what, I want to change this? Because there's some type of motivation for most people, unless if you're just picked by somebody. I mean, I don't know. That's why I want to know.
Right. No, that's a great point. Right. Yeah. There's something, the platform is great and it's a vision, but there must have been something. There was a reason that I was coming and I was open to this platform. And yeah, I've been an advocate with other parents in the district, really for several years now, pushing for a greater community voice and greater transparency in the decision making, because that has been the piece that's missing from our democratically elected board, from our elected representatives, has been this openness to the community and this willingness to engage in meaningful discussion. And we have seen major policy shifts and major changes happening in our district, and those decisions are being made behind closed doors. By the time they're brought to the community, they are done deals. We are left trying to react to something that's already done. One example, I think one of the most egregious examples is 2 years ago. Yes, 2 years ago, our district signed partnership agreements at 18 campuses with virtually no public discussion. I found out about them when a parent at one of the schools that was going to be entering into a partnership agreement texted me or called me and said, "What is this that I just read about in the paper that the board is meeting, going to vote on in a couple of days? What is this partnership? I'm active at the school. I'm in the PTA. I've never heard of this. What is this?" And it turns out, our district, chasing funds from the state, developed partnerships with, they were all nonprofits. Some of them were nonprofits that were created really like within a week or two before the contracts were signed. And they gave significant control over our schools to these organizations. So it's staffing, it's budgeting, it's curriculum, it's scheduling, it's class size. All of those decisions are the responsibility of these partners.
So what are you going to do? I mean, so then what's the point of having a school board then? I mean,
yes, exactly.
Yes. I'm just asking because I'm still trying to learn this, but from what you're saying, that doesn't make any sense of why you would have an elected school board then.
Right. Well, it makes sense from this perspective of our state, right? We have a very anti-democratic state leadership, and democratic with a big D, or little d. Wait, not the party, the process. Yeah. And they would love to see all of our public schools become charter schools. And that's what this program is an incentive to do. So our districts will give control to our partners who will take management of our schools. We will be reimbursed at a higher per student rate than we were before, and at a rate that's actually comparable to what the district pays charter schools per student. And then we end up with a network of charter schools and a board that sort of symbolically has minor control over this network. That is the vision, and that is the goal of our state leaders. And we are incentivized to take part of this because it's extra money that we desperately need. But it's a huge trade-off, and it's a trade-off that we have to have a public discussion about. We have to decide, are the downsides to this worth it for us as a community? And we have not had, our board has not engaged in that discussion. And actually, when you ask questions, they kind of just shove you aside and say, "No, trust us.
Yeah, I know.
We've got this." And as a taxpayer, I find that insulting.
Why is anybody talking about this? This is actually the first time I've heard of this specifically.
Yeah, no, I think it's innocuous language. We use the language of partnerships. And we learn that we use the language of innovation. So there's two types of partnerships under this program. We have turnaround partnerships. Turnarounds are for schools that have been deemed to be failing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now we have innovation
we were actually
partners.
just talking about this. I think it was South San or Southside ISD that doesn't have any school board right now. I think they're slowly transitioning over back to elected board members. So, and I think Harlandale is under investigation as well with that current issue last year. So is that what you're talking about? Same.
So it's not exactly the same, but they're linked, right? So we have a really punitive public education system in the state. So we have a state that will come down hard on schools and on districts and boards when they think that folks are getting out of line. And so some of this, I would actually argue, some of the policy and the marketing and the games that our board members are playing right now is out of fear of a state takeover, right? You have to play nice so that they don't come in. And the system is designed to be that way. It's designed so that we're all operating under the fear of a takeover at any point. The fear of being labeled as a failing district, the fear of losing funding, that is the environment that our state lawmakers have created for us in our public schools.
So I mean, but isn't that good though, because it's kind of like accountability, or is it too much?
It's too much. So for example, let me 2 years ago, Rodriguez Elementary was slated to be shut down. They were deemed a failing school and had been a failing school for a period of time, which meant that the state was requiring that they shut down or get a turnaround partner. The district chose, without any discussion from parents, that instead of seeking a turnaround partner, they would shut down the school. If the district didn't shut down the school or get a turnaround partner, the state could come in and take over the entire board. So the state is saying you have to shut down the school, sign it over to a private partner, or we come in and take over your board. So it loses our public control. It's a threat to our public control. And I'm not sure what the accountability is in that. Certainly the state isn't coming in beforehand and making sure that the district's investing in Rodriguez to make sure that it gets the grades up, and parents at that school have documented how the years before they were forced to close, they saw a drop in investment and resources from the district. And so the state had no interest in coming in and making sure that they were getting the money that they deserve. But it did say, well, you have to close it or we're going to come in and take over your board. Yeah.
Wow. What district was that?
And so this is SAISD. Yeah, so Rodriguez is right by Our Lady of the Lake University. It was actually really a heartbreaking process to go through, because the kids and the parents, this was a beautiful school with a really great community, and they fought so hard to keep their school open. And those kids have now moved to Carvajal, which was an early childhood center, and now is early childhood through 5th grade. And Rodriguez is reopened as a Montessori school. The other piece is the way that state policy works is the kids who attended that school before can't come back. They have to reopen to a new population. So maybe their younger siblings can come back, but then you're stuck sending kids to 2 different schools, even if they're kind of close. But the kids who went to and loved Rodriguez can't come back to Rodriguez. They are at a different school now. And so and the state will tell you, this is all about supporting working class kids of color, right? We need great schools for working class kids of color, but then it's so punitive and so harmful to these students. It's a system that really does not take their well-being into account, despite that
they want them to take the STAR test, which isn't helping the kids either. So what? I don't really see how they understand the benefits of what the kids want.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. And so what we know about this A through F accountability system is it's almost exclusively based on star scores or star scores from one year to the next year. It's almost all star scores. And we know that's an unfair way to measure academic achievement, to measure student learning. In a pandemic, they're making children come back, students come back to do this in person. And it's an unfair system.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Phil says Sarah has been very
Okay.
vocal about HEB paying its associate during the pandemic, but the Butts have a vested interest in pushing this slate. So how will you hold HEB accountable to paying their fair share of property taxes, especially since their corporate office is in D1? HEB, Zachary Frost, New Star have had a PAC since 1981 that contributes to who they want on the SAISD school board. Seems that the slate is backed by these special interests. Are they upset that the current board is reaching? I don't know what the rest of it is, Phil. But and that's very true, because if you look at some of these campaign finance reports, there are a lot of money coming from these PACs or HEB, Zachary, and things like that. So, what do you have to say about that issue?
Yeah, so I'm a little confused. Is he saying that we're backed by HEB or that the other candidates are backed by their pact? Because I'm
Um,
not, board is reaching, oh, are they upset that the current board is reaching out to other groups to partner with instead of keeping their monopoly? Okay, so our slate is not backed by the HEB pact. I actually don't know anything about that particular pact. That's not what we're backed by. But we do have a slate that, recognizes that homeowners and renters are carrying a disproportionate tax burden for our schools. That the way that our tax system is structured, we are paying more in property taxes than corporations, and from some of these new luxury developments that are coming in. And so we know that homeowners and renters in San Antonio are paying more than our fair share, and that corporations and new development should be contributing as well.
and I think, because I looked it up here, and it's called the American Federation of Teachers Union Group, and the Parent PAC. That's what the HEB or Charles Butt. It says hold on a second here. This is from Texas Scorecard. Charles Butt, whose personal fortune comes courtesy of HEB grocery store, started by his family, wants to deny parents the right to be more involved in their kids' education. His tool is promoting wretched public policy is the Parent PAC. So I think we might need to look at that, right, and see
Yeah.
what's going on. Obviously, yes, with the people that are working at those places. I mean, they're definitely amazing. But we also have to make sure we hold people like this accountable. I know HEB has done a lot for our state, but we also have to make sure that it's still being held accountable, no matter who it is. So definitely, I don't know if you have anything else
Yeah.
to say about that specifically, but I think you said that you would want to make sure that these people are being held accountable or paying their fair share of taxes, correct?
Yes, that people are paying their fair share of taxes, and yeah, that our community has a voice in decision making. I mean, that is what have always been around, is that parents, students, and broadly in our community have a role and a voice in shaping our district policy.
Okay. Let's see here. As far as the STAR testing, what do you feel that what do you think can be done to change the STAR testing? A lot of the either board members or candidates have said that there's nothing that you guys can do because your hands are tied.
Mhm.
Is that true, or is there something else that you can do?
Yeah, I mean, so we don't wake up tomorrow and in STAR, unfortunately. It is the policy context that we're working in, and it is frustrating that during a pandemic that our state leaders have said we're going to continue to go with STAR. I think of all times that we can maybe take a break would be during a pandemic, and frankly, even our federal leaders have said that as well. I mean, the Biden administration has not granted exemptions for schools to do standardized testing, and it's really frustrating. It's been frustrating for parents and students and educators across the country. We've been saying, in a pandemic when 500,000 Americans have died, and we are struggling economically and emotionally through this, that we're not going to exempt and take a break from STAR testing. So we can advocate and continue to advocate with state leaders to say, like, at this year of all years, we need to stop and we can reevaluate this moving forward. There's also, there's ways that you play in the system that you have, but you can also publicly acknowledge that it isn't a fair system. And that is not something that, our current board has done. They've, really just talked about how great STAR is, how great we're doing related to STAR. We've invested and spent a lot of time doing computerized assessments like MAP, and talking about MAP scores. And we don't have to emphasize that so much. And those are some small steps. And then we can also just continue to work towards a larger vision and advocate towards fair assessments that actually do measure student learning.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I think I brought up the article here. All right. So this is in regards to so does he put into the San Antonio Alliance? Is that
no? So the San Antonio Alliance PAC money is money that comes from workers in the district. So every month, teachers, bus drivers, food service workers, custodians, all of those folks who are part of the union pay a small membership fee, right? A membership fee to their union, and some of that money goes to the PAC. But that is the union's PAC. I think in the past, the HEB Foundation or Bud Foundation has supported the candidates we're all running against. So as far as I know, I haven't received any money from HEB, and I don't think that any, we're running on, we receive support from the Alliance PAC, and then we receive smaller dollar donations from community members.
So, I mean, okay, so with that though, I mean, that is a good question that's being brought up though, is with the San Antonio Alliance being part of this union and I guess in a sense HEB part of this, right? Will you still hold them accountable though? As far as, even though there's kind of like that same interest and same, I don't want to say special interest, I mean, but it kind of is a special interest because he's part of the alliance as well. So, I mean, what guarantees do we have that you guys will, and part of your whole slate, will hold HEB accountable? I guess is that question.
So, I think running on the platform that we're running on, that has been developed by students and community groups, families, and school workers, it's broader and it's bigger than just the alliance. And so we are accountable to the entire community. We are running with a commitment to that, and absolutely expect to be held accountable to that. And I would have it I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, that is when you run for public office and you ask for people to vote for you, you need to be held accountable to what the community and their constituents call on you to do.
Right. But I think there's also that factor of not a lot of people pay attention to the school board races. So that's why a lot of times people feel like they can get away with certain things. So that's why I think it's a big question, right? Because we don't know what's going on, right? We don't know where to find this information sometimes, and some people are just kind of getting through without being scrutinized in a sense. So I just want to make sure that if you guys are tied into the same network, that we're still holding those people accountable, but also making sure that we're not giving them land use or making sure that we're not giving favors to a certain organization because they're part of the same alliance or partners. So you would do that, correct? As far as like making sure that wouldn't happen, or
yeah, I mean, I'm confused. I mean, but so we have the endorsements of the alliance. The alliance PAC is funded by workers in the district, not by anybody else. The other donations that we've received, or that I've received, have been small dollar donations from community members. And so there aren't big corporations funding any of our campaigns. And part of the reason being here is to have conversations about policy with the broader community and to talk about issues. So it isn't just, I want people to be informed. I want people to look at what's happening in their school and share what's happening within their communities and in their schools, and so that their elected officials can represent them in that.
Gotcha. Phil says the entire community, but the alliance is not funded directly by the residents, and 99% of the constituents don't know who the alliance is. Yeah.
So the alliance is the union of school workers. Yeah. I come from a union family, so I'm a proud union member, and so I think we should all support unions in their roles of creating spaces for workers to come together to fight for fair wage and safe working conditions. So I don't see that those values are separate from the rest of us in the community. So I've worked as a case investigator and contact tracer with the COVID response effort in San Antonio, and I have heartbreaking conversations with community members every day who are going to work because who are sick or possibly exposed and going to work because they don't have time off. And so there are broader issues that are going on with for workers' rights in our community that have directly affected us during this pandemic. So I think it's important to recognize that fighting for the rights of workers and supporting workers in our schools is not somehow separate or counter to our broader community. They are tied hand in hand.
I gotcha. Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to find out about that because I know I asked the other candidate as well. There's Zachary is in part of some of this thing, and so just trying to find out where the connections are. Right? Why are these companies or corporations so invested into the school board districts?
And they're giving money to our opponents. So I think that is a good question, right? Mm-hmm. What do they have? What do they have at stake that they're that they're giving a lot of money to the folks who are promoting community voice, student voice, and supporting school workers? I think that's a great question.
Yeah. So thank you guys for those questions. So as far as let me change topic here. What are your top 3 favorite restaurants in the district or in the area that's around there?
Oh gosh. Oh, and I have so many. So I live in Lavaca, so we have a lot of really good ones. So like taco place down the street is Las Tapatías de Jalisco, and that is like the Saturday morning taco run. And I friendly spot is the neighborhood hangout, and that's where we've gone to get together with friends for forever. Yeah, and so recently, I think there's a new like little pizza truck in the neighborhood. I think it's Pizzeria Vesuvius, and I'm really enjoying their stuff right now. It's very comforting food. I like that. I'm enjoying good pizza and stromboli, which you don't often get here.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So as far as with COVID and everything that's happening,
Mhm.
what are your plans, or what kind of direction would you like to see the schools opening up, or how would everything fit if you guys were to be elected, or you would be elected?
Mhm.
What would your direction go towards?
Yeah, so I have early on last year, I think like July of last year, I was started working as part of a coalition, at what we're having a reopening coalition with other parents and students and teachers, not just in SAISD, but broadly in all the districts, the larger districts within San Antonio, actually quite a few of the major districts within San Antonio, to talk about, how can we open safely and make sure that we have spaces where we can ultimately have that goal of bringing kids back into the classroom safely. And we pushed a lot of ideas, like better ventilation, outdoor classrooms, um, try, alternating schedules, ways that we could be creative to make this work for our students. The state really dropped the ball on this. The state decided basically we were going to open try to open as normal as possible, as soon as possible, and really didn't give districts the supports and the guidance they needed to have the creativity that they needed to do this well. And so what we ended up with the opening that we had, and actually, so the only reason that we have any of the safety protocols that we really have in place that the state was requiring them was because of advocacy of students and parents and teachers calling the governor and calling TEA to fight for, making sure that everyone had PPE, fighting for distancing in their classrooms, and allowing some flexibility of parents deciding whether to come back to school or not. It's not a great system. I don't think it's worked out for anyone this year. Teachers are doing two very different jobs. They're teaching remotely at the same time that they're teaching in the classroom. And even students who are in the classroom are learning on their devices. So it's a system where, as a parent and talking to other parents, it's just been like, well, this year has sort of been a wash. And that's unfortunate because I don't think it had to be that way. If our state leaders had allowed more creativity, and I think if our district leaders had pushed back a little bit more and been willing to fight a little bit more, we would have maybe had some more opportunity to be creative and figure out to make a school year that would work for everyone. Hopefully, what it sounds like when I hear, board members talking about the next year, they've absorbed some of those lessons and trying to do some of the policies that we were calling for last summer. But, hopefully it works out that most people can be back in the classroom next year and that we will have, schools that are safe for our students and our workers.
Yeah, for sure. And here's the thing too is with as far as with the private schools and everything, I'd Seton one, they were part of the charter schools, and the question came about of, well, is there anything that the charter schools can do to help the public schools, maybe with their with their education and things like that, like their education materials, is there some type of partnership that can happen as far as not in court, not making it to where the public schools are private, but taking material from the private schools or charter schools and incorporating them into some of the public schools? Um, do you think that would work, or is that just something that Texas as a state government is just not going to do?
I don't know that it's necessary. And actually, I mean, the landscape of our charter networks is actually, I think we have. Well, okay, let me try this. I don't know that our charter networks necessarily have something to offer in that way to our schools. I was just having a conversation with someone about research showing how students are going sort of charter school hopping and then ending up back in the district and then having to be caught up in certain areas because they've gone to these specialized schools that have focused on certain aspects of learning and then left behind others. And so then when they come back to a public school, which a lot of our charter school students ultimately do, we have to catch them back up because they spent time in sort of this focused curriculum. So I'm not sure what our charter schools would have to offer the district as far as curriculum. Some of their curriculum is actually really really narrow and really doesn't allow for a lot of autonomy of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
But kind of like the idea schools, right? You have the idea schools that have a really good college bound. Is it? I think it's the idea schools that they have 100% graduate.
Yeah, can I explain to you how they do that?
Yeah, and I do have a bit of an issue with some of that. That a parent actually came up, or she contacted me when I was running for office last year, and there was something troubling that I was like, "Wow, really?" But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so you technically you can't graduate unless you're accepted to college. So I guess we could do that to our students. I don't think. I mean, I don't think for public schools that's what we want to do. The other piece is IDEA also has formed their own college. So if you are graduating from IDEA and you don't get accepted to another school, in order to graduate, you can enroll into IDEA's college. So I don't think that's the vision that we have when we talk about our students being ready and going off to higher education. And when we talk about 100% college acceptance, that isn't the vision that we have as a community for our students.
Yeah, definitely. And the experience that was exactly the experience that happened. This lady contacted me and she was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to call. They're telling my son's not going to get his diploma because he changed his mind about going to college. He doesn't want to go because he feels like it would be a waste of time and a waste of money, resources, when it could go to somebody else. And they were basically holding on to his diploma. I contacted a few people and they're like, well, that doesn't sound right. I'm like, well, yeah, it doesn't, but it's happening. And so finally he had to settle on going to like a community college or something small, in order for him to get his diploma. And so I was like, well, it's kind of lousy.
It is.
So yeah, that's something I think not a lot of people realize, especially with that. They don't want to tarnish their 100% graduation rate.
Right, exactly. And then you start to say, okay, well, is this about students and what's best for them in their future? And we should hold that not everyone is going to want to go to college or want to go to college right out of high school. I'm a stepmom to someone who chose a different path. He's in college now, but it took him a few years. He needed a different pathway, and that's fine, right? That's that's his agency as a human being to decide what's best for him. And so once we rob our students of that ability to advocate for themselves and what they want, and they are truly the ones who know what's best for them. I mean, even if they're young and they're brain's still developing, they still have agency and a right to determine what's best for them. And that's why when we talk about being student-centered, that is recognizing that students have that, should at very least decide whether they want to go to college right out of high school or not.
Yeah, they have every right to, unless if it's dating, because they don't know what they're doing when they're dating. I think we can all agree. We didn't know what we were doing when we were that young and dating.
And that's, it's part of growing up, and it's being a parent, right? The whole process is just letting go, and fingers crossed that they will turn out okay, and they will.
Right. It's like that movie we were watching last night, 10 Things I Hate About You. He was like, she was gonna go out to the prom. He's like, wear the belly, the pregnancy belly. Like, you have to know there's consequences. Brianna says, "Hi Sarah, my question is, how does your experience as a parent inform your position as a public education advocate?"
Yeah, so I started this work advocating for my school, and feeling, so the district was proposing so at Bonham, where my child goes to school, they have a dual language program, and then they have an English program. So they and the district said, "Oh, the English looks under-enrolled. We're going to get rid of it, and we're just going to be solely a dual language class," is what they were pushing for. And as parents in the school saying, no, it's important to us to keep this track. This track is the one track that's exclusively open to neighborhood kids. It's a class, some kids processing issues, just decide they don't necessarily want to do dual language. And we need to have this space for neighborhood kids to be able to still attend their neighborhood school. And the district was fine with the idea of closing that track and sending those kids off to other schools. And that wasn't okay with us. And we had to push back, and it was really, we were successful, but it really opened my eyes to how hard that was to get that point across for district administrators who seemed to know nothing about our school, nothing about our community, and they had the vision that we were supposed to get on board for. And so I saw that happening at my school. Around that same time, Stewart Elementary was entered into a turnaround partnership with Democracy Prep, which is an outside charter corporation, with no community input at all around that. And then soon after, that's when I connected with parents at Rodriguez that was being shut down with no community input of how they thought best to move forward. And so I was seeing the way that we as the folks who are in the schools, who have the knowledge and the experience to know what we need, were being shut out of important conversations. And that's really the basis that has been the basis of my work since then.
Gotcha. As far as the budget goes, and I'm going to kind of put y'all together since you are part of the slate of candidates. So what are y'all's vision for the budget, and what will you be trying to focus on specifically?
So I don't have a list of budget priorities. I want to hear what our community has for budget priorities. And so really the budget, to me, the priority is setting up a public process so that we can have a public budgeting, so people can talk about the issues that are important to them on their campuses, broadly in the community, and then create a budget document based on that process. And participatory budgeting happens in other places, even within other school districts within Texas. There are some districts that do. It can be stronger, but they still do more than we do. I mean, our budget process is you get a little Excel spreadsheet printout, and then 2 weeks later the board votes on a budget that you don't even. There's no transparency whatsoever, and so yeah, thinking about how can we involve more people into the budget process and determining what our priorities are and how do we fund our schools equitably across the district.
So, and just a question, because just trying to figure this out. So, shouldn't you guys know that already as part of being the alliance? And if you guys are part of the community, shouldn't you guys already know what you already want in the budget already going in?
So, I think we hear, bits and pieces, but I think, really we have a responsibility to be open to the broader community and recognizing, that there is always room for more discussion about this. One of the issues, though, I think really clearly as we do talk to people is wanting to know how funds are distributed across the district and are they being distributed equitably in our schools. And that is a question that we hear quite often from the community is, are some schools getting more money than others? Why is that? What is the spending? Some of this, the other questions that people have asked are these partnership management and partnership agreements, that where are these extra funds going? So we have questions from parents at these schools saying, well, we don't see a material difference in our schools. Things seem the same. Teachers are still buying their own paper. Where's this money going? And so answering some of those questions is a first step in this.
Gotcha. Phil brings up a point. The Alliance gave us the current board members except for Garza. They also endorsed and supported the likes of James Howard and Tom Lopez that sat on the board for 20 plus years. How is the Alliance offering anything different this time around if we have been in this situation because of their endorsements?
And the platform, I say go check out our platform. That is the platform that we're running on, and I think that nothing like that has existed before in our community. So, it's very, very much different from any school board election that I've ever seen happen in our community. So that's the difference.
Okay. As far as the teacher pay, is there anything different that can happen to be able to make sure the teachers do get like the pay that they should deserve, or is that something that's just, I guess kind of like you were saying, is we don't know where the money's going to, so we can give these people. Is there anything the school board can do to make sure teachers get paid adequately instead of it going to any overhead costs or anything that should not be necessary?
So, I think one of the first things that we can do this year, that is as soon as possible, is support a retention bonus for all of our school workers. So that's teachers, but also bus drivers and food service workers, folks who've been working really hard during this pandemic. And I'm afraid that some of them are going to be so burnt out that they don't come back. And so we need to thank them for their work. We haven't paid hazard pay to any of our classified workers during this time, and so or teachers. And so we can do a retention bonus, which is what other districts in San Antonio have done. And I think that's an important way to do that. I think that's one of the first things that we can do to support our workers in our district.
Okay. Okay, so Phil has this to say. Deflection. Are you holding the Alliance accountable for their poor decisions for the community in the past?
Again, we're running on a platform, and the Alliance is, as every organization and institution changes over time, the Alliance has have decided to support this platform and be a part of a group that is pushing a different vision for education. And so, I'm all for holding organizations and institutions accountable, and have no problem speaking up when things are going, when I feel that people are doing things that are wrong.
Even if it's your own, even if it's the Alliance as well?
Yeah, even if it's part of the alliance as well. I mean, I was raised to speak truth to power. And if I see that there are injustices and things that need to be addressed, I have absolutely no problem bringing that. And I expect that of the community to do to elected officials as well.
Okay. And then how will the Alliance slate defund SAISD police, or are they also part of the Alliance?
So the platform that we're running on really does look at ending the role of police in disciplinary issues on campuses, and that's actually a state law. Like the state actually says that school police are not to be involved in disciplinary issues at schools, and that's not something that's necessarily being adhered to right now. And I think that's something that we as a board should take a look at and make sure that we're in compliance with state law.
Okay. And then I guess will you hold the SAISD police to the same accountability, or will you turn a blind eye to the law enforcement issues on campus?
So, our students have expressed concern about over-policing at their campuses. And that's something I take very seriously. And I think we follow the lead of the students that they describe their experiences, and we look for policies to make sure that they feel safe and supported at their campuses.
Okay. All right. Well, is there any other things that you would like to say about your campaign, or anything that maybe you would like to discuss that we didn't cover already?
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered the gamut of a lot of stuff. I mean, what I want to I think close with and leave with is, we talk about public schools and public education. This is a public good. It's something that we all have ownership over and a right to have a say in how things are going. And actually, and I also say we have an obligation to participate and to be informed, and to show up for our young people and our future. So I'm fully committed to the public piece of public education.
Awesome. All right. Well, how can people get a hold of you, donate, volunteer, whatever it is?
Yeah. So on the website that I shared earlier with our platform, it has a link to each of the candidates' information who are running on this platform. So if folks want to take a look at the Schools Our Students Deserve platform website, they can also then link to my own page. People can email me at Sarah, which is SARAH.
Here, let me.
Sorry.
Okay.
The number 4, and then SAISD, and the number 1, and at gmail.com.
On the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'll just put it on here. All right. And then are you seeking donations, volunteers, or anything like that?
Yes, donations, volunteers. So donations, I think when you go to the Schools Our Students Deserve website and click on my link to my page, there is a link to my Act Blue account, so folks can donate through that. I'm not sure if my volunteer link is up there, but if you email me, I can get you the volunteer link. We do weekly block walks, we do weekly phone calls, so there's opportunities to get involved that way. Also, just having conversations with friends and neighbors and family who are in District 1 or in any of the other districts. If you support these candidates, the candidates and the vision that we're running on, share that widely within the community.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Sarah, for just having this conversation, and thank you everybody for watching and being engaged and asking these tough questions, because I mean they are some questions that we need to make sure that we have, and And so, yeah, definitely thank you for coming on. And also the viewers that are watching, if you would also like to donate to this live stream as well, you can do so by following the Cash App down below. This is all just voluntary. I'm not doing this with anybody else. So if you'd like to donate as well, please do so, and or send me a message. And but thank you everyone for joining. And I don't think I don't think we're gonna have any more interviews this week, but for sure next week as well. We're still hitting some city council candidates, and so yeah, so definitely make sure you stay tuned to that, and make sure you stay engaged and ask these questions. So, but thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Sarah, and have an awesome day.
Thanks. Bye. It was great speaking with you.